So that's where I paroled from, you know.
And now you're 17 at this time, right?
I just turned 17, couple weeks, boom, I'm out on the street now. And there's
with no skills whatsoever, no functioning in society.
No skills whatsoever. And you know what's sad about that is they had a trade line there where they were teaching guys, you know, house painting, carpentry, all this stuff, plumbing. But I couldn't go there to the trade line because I didn't fit into their little categories of what they consider to be, you know, programming. You know, I was just fuck up. You know, I had an attitude, so I couldn't go up there to that trade line. So I didn't learn shit in that place except how to, you know, be an asshole, fighting. And I did see my first stabbing there, you know, institutional stabbing. There was this dude, he was a Southerner, and we're in line for chow. He stabbed this dude. He's like a couple guys in front of me. He stabs this guy, Northerner. And then he stabbed another one. And then a third dude ran around the building, you know, to get away from me. He chased him around the building, stabbed him. I was like, damn, you know. It was pretty serious, you know. It's like, wow, that's how serious this is, you know. I'd never seen that before, you know. So that's what I paroled from, you know. And, you know, people don't understand, like, you start developing the all or nothing mentality, you know, like if you don't like somebody, if I don't like somebody for some reason that I make up in my head or for a real reason, maybe it's all the way bad.
Yeah.
There's no coming back from that. The guys around you that like you, you know, you instigate them to not like that guy. And then eventually you got to get that guy. That's
right.
how it works. That's the mentality that you start to develop.
Right.
You know? So that's what I paroled from, and then boom, I'm out on the streets of San Diego, you know, just running amok. I stayed at my mom's pad for about 2 weeks till I got my license, and then I moved in with my homeboy who's passed away. His mom was a speed freak biker chick. You know, she had 2 or 3 guys that were connections that used to come by and fuck her and drop off sacks of dope. And, you know, then we would use the dope to buy, you know, guns and stuff like that. And, you know, I was involved with that kind of stuff. They were running in pistols down to Mexico and rifles. And people got to remember, this is like 1978, right? And the Mexican cartels, they didn't have guns and weapons and stuff like they do now. I mean, they were buying single shot 22 rifles from us. I mean, any pistol, rifle I could get, my connection would buy. So here I am, 17 years old, you know, slinging crank. I had a motorcycle I took from somebody, you know, that owed, and I rode that for about a year. And I grew up around dudes that, you know, they're building motorcycles. These are guys that grew up around. And I'm like the youngest guy in the crew. So I'm 17. The oldest guy would be like 25. And these guys are working, you know, they're partying and stuff, but they're working, they're doing right. It's just a motorcycle deal, you know. And but they would tell, and I decided, hey man, I want to go the outlaw route, you know. I mean, I was gravitating towards, hey, these motorcycle clubs are cool, and you know, that they were cool because when we were kids growing up, man, these guys, we'd go down the street, you know, and they'd get us in the garage and clear it out, you know, have a little boxing ring, teach us how to fight, but they liked us, they treated us good, they respected us, and we're kids. They were a major influence in my life, you know. And one thing I did learn from them guys is, you know, the rules are, you know, no shooting dope, you know. Some guys violate them rules, but I never did. That's one thing that stuck with me all them years, is not to shoot dope. So, you know, that's one thing that it's positive I got out of it. But so I grew up around these guys all over my neighborhood, so that's kind of where I was gravitating to, you know. And I met my crime partner. He was a fighter, and he was teaching me a little bit about boxing, and we'd go in a karate studio and use the back room to train boxing, you know. And he had some friends that I didn't really know, and all my homeboys would tell me, hey brother, you know, you're fucking up, man, you're gonna end up in prison. I said, I don't care.
Right.
That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna be this, you know. That's what I'm gonna be. And like, man, brother, you know, they were just on me, man. You know, you're messing up. You're gonna go to prison, and because them dudes love me, you know. They were my true friends and homeboys, you know. So anyway, I'm in a bar, and I'm with a couple guys, one on my left, one on my right. And this guy in this motorcycle club came in. It's just a local club, right? And he starts talking smack to my crimey. And the guy on my right, he hits him in the face with a beer pitcher, knocks him back, you know. So I jump up and start, you know, I punch the dude in the face a few times, you know, roll the set on him. And my crimey gets up, my other crimey says, hey, let him fight, you know. So they're grappling and they go out onto the sidewalk. And, you know, I walked out to the sidewalk and this dude's on my crime partner's chest, you know, beating him up, sitting on his chest. So I start kicking him, you know, I'm kicking field goals with his head, stomping him out. You know, if he wouldn't have got killed, he probably would have walked away with a few broken ribs and a pretty bad, you know,
concussion.
Yeah, you know. But I mean, I was jumping up in the air and stomping him out, you know. I wanted to beat him down and take his patch. You know, that's what I wanted to do, because that's what guys did back then, you know, it's a disrespect thing. And tell him, hey, you just got your ass beat down by a 17-year-old kid, you know.
Now you had just come from somewhere. That's what sort of instigated. He was talking shit about a partner of yours, correct?
Right.
So basically, you just come from his funeral, right?
Well, basically, the guy he was talking smack about was on the run in Texas. He was in a motorcycle club, and he was a guy I looked up to. Right. And he was using the alias, I heard, Lee Harvey Oswald, on the run in Texas. So anyway, got into it with some rednecks I heard down there in Texas in a bar, and they shot him, killed him. So they just had this guy's funeral, like maybe a week prior. So this guy to come in the bar and say, hey, you know, your friend was a punk and he got what he had coming. That's basically what the guy said. I mean, you know,
yeah,
it's not, you know.
He had no choice.
Yeah, and like I said, you know, it's all or nothing, man. I mean, you're enemies of my friends or guys I look up to, then, you know, it's on.
Yeah.
I mean, minimum, if he wouldn't have said that, he would have probably just got a beat down. I don't know. So while I was stomping him out, somebody else stepped in, you know, and stabbed him, and he died. You know.
So now, since you were involved, you know, I mean, it was the three of you that were beating on him or whatever. So all three of you caught the case, correct?
Right. They arrested all three of us. I went to juvenile hall, and the other two guys went to county jail. And here's the deal: my mom was a legal secretary for years, you know, and so this guy that she used to work for, unbeknownst to me, became a juvenile court judge. And so I go to juvenile hall, and the next day I get arraigned, and this lawyer comes in, and he goes, all right, here's the deal, man. You're going to cop to assault with a deadly weapon, and you're going to get 3 years and go back to youth authority. I'm thinking, man, I'm not going back to youth authority. You know, I had enough of that shit, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm like, nah, I ain't taking no deal. And this guy's like, oh, man, you know. Well, I didn't know that this judge was a guy my mom used to work for. And he called this guy as a favor to take my case, arrange this deal. They want to give me this deal and get me off to youth authority before it becomes a big deal, you know. And so I go in and I'm like, no, I want to be tried as an adult. I want a trial. I didn't kill this dude. And I'm thinking, you know, I'll have a trial and I'll get found not guilty because I didn't do it.
So what was the first deal with you once you got to adult court?
Yeah, so I jump over to county jail. I'm in the juvenile tank, and we go get arraigned, and they go, all right, here's the deal. Manslaughter for me, manslaughter for my crimey who was getting beaten up, and second-degree murder for the other crime partner. So I'm like, man, manslaughter, wow, you know. Now I'm like, wow, you know, went from assault with a deadly weapon to manslaughter. That's a 6-year term back then. But the catch was it had to be a package deal.
Yeah.
Right. Everybody had to take the deal or nobody could take the deal. You know, and then
they still running deals like that. You know what I mean? They're still running.
Yeah, well, you know, the guy with the second degree, he don't want to take the deal because that's the most he's going to get.
Right.
So I'm like, hey, you know, you want to fight it, we'll fight it, man. You know, I'm not
going to be mad at you.
I mean, well, I was kind of mad at him, you know, because I didn't ask him to jump in. There's no need to stab the dude, you know. But anyways, They came back at me with the assault with a deadly weapon, you know, 3 years. But now there's a catch. Now you got to testify. I'm like, man, I ain't taking no deals. I ain't, you know. Then they came at me later and they're like, look, if you sign this paper and agree to testify, you know, we'll let you go home tonight. I told my lawyer, look, man, I ain't taking no fucking deals. He goes, they're going to make a rat out of you or they're going to send you to prison. And I'm like, well, I'm going to prison, you know. So we had a jury trial and, you know, it was all in the newspapers and all kinds of stuff. Because back in those days, you know, fight clubs were doing a lot of, there was a lot of war shit going on, blowing each other up. So this was just played right into their deal there, you know. And so we went to trial. We got found guilty. You know, we all got 15 to life, and then one dude got an extra year. He got 16 to life. He got an extra year. The enhancements back then were only a year, so he got an enhancement for personal use of a weapon during the commission of a crime. Yeah. So, and then
Are you the only one that's come home on that case?
No, actually, one of them's still in, and one of them turned rat in prison, and you know, he paroled from a pretty high-powered rat. You know, he was in a prison gang. He dropped out back, you know, before it was fashionable.
Right.
You know, like 90, he dropped out. He was on Corcoran Pt.2 unit with all them other guys. You know, I won't say their names, but they'd been on TV and stuff. So anyway, he ratted his way out of prison. He got out about 5 years before me. And now here's the deal. I went through psychotherapy programs designed for lifers, you know, guys that had life terms. I did a lot of programs. I got a couple trades. You know, once I reached a point where I wanted a program, I mean, even when I was using dope and all this other stuff, I was getting my vocational training and all that. So basically, I earned my way out of prison. I programmed my way out of prison. My primary that got out, he ratted his way out of prison. And since he's been out, he's been back and forth. I think he's off parole now because we got a 5-year parole, you know, but he did 3 or 4 parole violations, man, for being a heroin addict and just, you know, he just fuck up, man. I mean, he didn't work his way out. He just, he got out because he was a rat, you know, and that's, you know, that's what they do. They reward them guys like that, I guess. You know, that's the results. When you let a guy out who hasn't learned anything, he hasn't programmed out, you know, you let him out because he's a rat. What are you letting out? You're letting a guy out who's, you know,
still
whatever.
fuck up, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I imagine he thought, you know, if he got any trouble out here in the world, he could just rat his way out of that too, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
He probably tried.
Yeah. So there I am, you know, 15 to life sentence. Yeah, 18 years old.
Yeah, painful.
Yeah, it was ugly.
So
Yeah.
I remember my first night back from court, man, after my sentence, I just sat in there. I really wanted to cry, bro. You know what I mean? A hard guy, a tough guy that I thought I was. I just wanted to cry, you know, like,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and then walking into reception, you know, you went through Chino as well, right?
Right.
So yeah, you're just like, where'd they send me, mama? You know what I mean? Like, you know, but you'd already been a lot more acclimated to, you know, you've been through all of the YA system and all that. I hadn't been through all that. So
yeah, and I sat in the county jail for about a year fighting my case, you know.
Yeah. So yeah, I was there almost 3 years fighting mine. So
and I had you know, I met a lot of guys who've been to prison. Here's the deal: when I was on the street, man, I met guys that had 2nd-degree murders, 1st-degree murders. They were getting out, and so 2nd-degree murder guys are doing 5 years. 1st-degree murder guys are doing 11, 12, 15 years. And so in my mind, I thought that's acceptable. Yeah.
So, all right. So now, well, so by the way, what kind of time did you do on that?
You know, I did 38 years, 6 months and some change.
Who's counting the change, right?
Yeah. Who's counting the days, right?
Just a couple showers in there. So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, like I said the other day, some guy was saying, oh, I did this amount of time. And somebody did 3 months or something. And I said, man, I spent more time than that wiping my ass in prison, you know? Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, how about this? The guys in the court cell coming up going, what do you do on 10 days with halftime?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
that's one thing I hated about the county jail, man, is all these guys are crying about doing a couple of weeks, man. I'm like, look, dude, I'm getting a life sentence, man, so shut your face.
Court dates weren't even fucking within their time frame of being released.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And I remember when I was going to court, you know, they used to drag us out like 4:30, put us in a stairwell, put us in a holding tank. And, you know, I got burned out on that stuff, man. And so there would be guys in there for the week, a week or two, you know, I'd give them a pack of cigarettes and I'd be like, hey, when they call my name, just raise up, just walk out and go, you know. And they'd be like, yeah, you know, happy to have a pack of cigarettes, you know. And then I'd catch a couple more hours of sleep and the sheriffs would come up there all pissed off and be like, hey, Smiley, get the hell out of here, you know, and take your ass to court, you know. But, you know. Yeah, so I got that 15 to life term, man, and I went to Chino, and it was a whole new deal. You know? Yeah, because, you know, prison and county jail are not the same. I mean, you get to Chino, back then they got a big room, right? You get off the bus, everything goes in the trash can, everything. You know, any personal belongings like your ID and all that stuff you have when you get arrested, you can mail home. But all your clothes, everything goes in a trash can. You don't see it anymore. And it's like, mentally, it's like, you know, that's the end of the world.
Yeah, that's all.
That's the end of the world. Right. I mean, all your stuff from the streets is going in that trash can. The streets are no longer an option. Now, this is it, right?
Right.
So they strip you down, you know, you get a shower, they give you a little bundle. I think we had boxers and t-shirts on, you know, and there's a big desk up there, man, this counter, and it's all convicts up there, you know, the permanent work crew. So they've got your file, you know, they know what your crime is, they know everything about you, and you go up there and you tell them your religion, your contact information, oh, they're typing it in your file. Send you on your way, you know. So yeah, that's how that works. And so guys go in there with funny crimes now, people don't know.
Right.
So yeah, by the time that dude got to his unit, everybody knew that he had a funny crime. You know, chomo or whatever. I mean, they knew.
And we got their JRCs, you know what I mean? We did all that shit. We ran the institutions.
Yeah, inmates, prisoners, they ran the institutions, you know. Yeah, so I lasted a couple weeks there, and I got a stabbing, and you know, I went to the hole, and I ended up going to San Quentin to the hole, you know. And I remember getting to San Quentin. I go to the hole, I'm in the cell, and back then, man, when you were in the hole doing a shoot term, they gave you a TV.
Yeah.
They gave you a little 12-inch black and white state TV, you know, babysitter, you know. And so there we are in San Quentin. And what people don't realize is Johnny Cash gave the money to the San Quentin prison to put in the first cable system in San Quentin. It was funded by Johnny Cash.
Nice.
Yeah, so there I'm in a cell, and this Mexican cat comes in off the yard, and he sees on. He goes, "Oh, you just got here, yeah?" And he's handcuffed behind his back, you know, and he's got a unit. He's looking in there. He goes, "You don't have a TV?" I said, "No, I don't have a TV, you know." And he's walking down the tier, and the cop's like, "Hey, come here, come here." And he's like, "Hey, get this guy a TV, you know."
Yeah.
You know, I had a TV. At the end of the day, I had a TV, but there was a San Quentin newspaper on the bed, you know, when I went in there, and back then the San Quentin newspaper used to print all the activity of the prison was in that newspaper. Every stabbing, there'd be like shots fired here, shots fired there, stabbing. It would say, you know, inmate was stabbed 7 times, blah, blah, blah. And it would say no suspects. And that was the code for, you know, he didn't tell.
Yeah.
You know, It was a trip, but there was also like, you know, murder in there. Some guy got beat down with a hammer and stabbed. And I thought, man, you know, what kind of shit am I into now? You know, the seriousness of it, you know,
started to sink in.
Yeah, it was starting to set in, you know, and you know, all these kids on the street, you know, same way I did. You think, you know, on the street, you're a tough guy, you know. I mean, I stabbed a couple guys in the street. Nothing major. They didn't die. But mostly fighting, beat downs, you know, stuff like that. But you know, you think that's tough guy shit, you know. And then when you get to prison, you realize, man, that, you know, tough guy stuff in prison, it's the guys who kill you. You know? Those are tough guys in there. Every single guy in prison will beat you down if they get a chance or if they have to. But now fighting's really not a deal. You know, it's like tough guys in there. You beat someone up in prison, he's going to come back and kill you. You know, as soon as you get comfortable and you think, hey, you know, that little beat down I gave that guy, it's over with and everything. You're just about your routine. He's going to slide up behind you and stab you and try to kill you.
Tomahawk.
Yeah, I mean, there were guys that had hatchets there. You know, the National Guard used to search San Quentin prison every year, once a year. I remember the San Quentin newspaper had a photograph. This guy had his hand up, you know, National Guard. I had a piece that must have been, it was like a machete. Yeah. He was like, yeah, you know, they searched that prison from top to bottom once a year. The National Guard would come in and do it. I mean, it was serious business, man. And I remember they printed an article in the San Quentin newspaper. Like Lieutenant so-and-so made a statement from now on, because you go from the lower yard to the upper yard, you walk through a metal detector. It said, from now on, when you are found with a weapon in your jacket, leaving the lower yard to the upper yard, the excuse that I must have picked up the wrong jacket will no longer be accepted.
Right.
So, I mean, that means they were accepting that excuse for a while, you know? I mean, everybody had knives, you know.
Everybody.
Just, man, you know, I hear guys say, Pelican Bay, this, that, and the other. You know, they're rough places. You know, high desert's a terrible place to be.
Terrible.
You know? There's violence there. There's stabbings, killings, you know, but.
Every prison was like that.
Sure, you know, you got to remember, even Tracy, but San Quentin especially, they had gun rails and they're pretty sharp. They caught a lot of stuff, but there's so many blind spots in those prisons that you could be caught slipping anywhere and you know, be killed, you know. I've seen it numerous times, you know, and it's ugly, man. So, you know, guys, you know, like I said, if these young guys think they're going to go to prison and be all that, man, it's the wrong attitude to have. You know, prison's the last place on earth you want to go. There's really not a whole lot that's worth going there over. And there's guys in there, man, that have been politicking, plotting violence, doing violence. You know, they know how to make weapons out of nothing a lot better than you know how. And they'll out-politic you, and they'll have you doing stuff you don't want to do. And, you know, I've seen guys that were cellies for 4 or 5 years, and then one of them started sliding around, you know, a little crew of prison gang guys or something, and they have him stabbing a guy that he'd been living with for 5 years.
Yeah.
Guys that go to visits together, chow together, party together, work together, lift weights together. All of a sudden, he's stabbing his buddy, man, because he wants to try to get in with these other guys. You know? And, yeah, it's an ugly place to be, man.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Hence, that's why I'm doing the channel, basically, is to reach out and touch some of the youth that hopefully can hear us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know a lot of them look at us and go, these guys are old, because I'm as gray as you, bro. I'm not going to lie. You know what I mean? I just for men. You know what I mean? So I'm every bit as gray. And they look at us and they, oh, these guys don't know nothing. You know, same attitude we had, right?
Yeah.
They have the same attitude we had back then. I mean, you can't tell us shit, you know? And, you know, that's why I started the channel, man, was to stop people from going down the path that we've gone down, you know, because it's been a fucked up path. I'm not going to lie, bro. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And I tell them all the time, you know, there wasn't a day that I wasn't in prison that I wasn't scared. You would have never known it. But I had that healthy fear with me all the time, you know what I mean, which kept me on tactical alert.
I mean, there's some prisons, man, when, you know, your asshole's tight from the time they pop your door in the morning until the time they lock it at night. Your asshole's tight, and you're on edge, and you're stressed out, and you got eyes in the back of your head because you can't trust anyone, and there's violence going on, and some guy might want to have you killed because he doesn't like the way you comb your hair. I mean,
That's it, bro.
that's for real.
That's for real.
That's real. Or you're working at some job and some guy asks you to do something. You're like, yeah, I'm cool. I'm doing that. And it's nothing. That guy didn't like that.
Yeah, he forgot it. He's been planning.
You don't know that guy. That guy might have a little influence and he could have you whacked.
Yeah.
And you don't even know it. So, I mean, it was ugly, man. It was, I mean, some places worse than others, but, like, I ended up going through some programs, Category T, Category X. I got involved with the milling cabinet, and then I used to go to hobby shop and make stuff out of wood. Every prison had a hobby shop back then. They had a little wood area, jewelry area, ceramics, and excuse me. So you could order your own wood, your own glue, and all that stuff, make stuff, and sell it in the store out front. And the state got 10% towards the inmate welfare fund.
Right.
Never understand where that money went, but they gave us that, and so I started getting involved with hobby and woodworking, and I graduated milling cabinet, and I started working in the carpenter shops, and then a prison industry in Tracy. I ended up in Tracy. I went through New Folsom for a hot minute, and I realized right away that's a dead end street. Brand new level 4, total control, no hobby, no jobs. Yeah, just concrete. They did have a nice weight pile.
Yeah.
Like they had that's the first place I'd been. They had Olympic iron, and so they had black, they had a white, Mexican, black weight pile. Each little section was exactly the same, and the blacks come over there and they wanted to use our lap machine, and my little homeboy, he'd been there, he goes, come on. So we go over there, tell me, man, no. They go, well, our lap machine's broken. Like, nah, spin. And so they went over back to their side of the weight pile where they, and the homeboy just put a piece, big old knife, right by the lap machine. He goes, if they come back next time, we're stabbing them.
Yeah. So
I was like, yeah, right. And yeah, I had a homeboy there, Chili. He had big Superman tattooed on his chest. He's an older cat. And, I had hair back then. I was a young guy. And I went through the chow line, and I had a little Mexican homeboy there. I weighed like $120 soaking wet, and he loads Chili's tray up. He goes, Superman, that's because he had that tattoo, and he loaded my tray up. He goes, Clark Kent, load my tray up. And I'm like, hey, what's up, homie, and next in line was a black dude, he put his tray out there, and the guy slops a little issue on there, and he just stood there and looked at him, and the guy's like, give me some more, and he goes, F you, use the N word and everything. So that's all you get. And I go, wow. So, well, the parole board had told me back then, if you went to board and they told you to go somewhere and do a program, the prison system was obliged to send you there and do that. So I saw what was happening in New Folsom. So I filed a 602 to go to DVI and finish my milling cabinet, because that's what the board told me to do. And I left about a week after that incident in Chow Hall, and I'm watching TV on Fish Row, in Tracy. And I seen on the news they had a riot there on that yard. I was in B yard, and they had a riot there about a week after I left, man. And an ambulance driver said, man, I was in Vietnam and I seen stuff in this prison yard I never even seen in Vietnam. A couple guys died, and so I was glad I left,
Yeah, what was that? Like 95 or something, wasn't it? 97?
No, that was 89.
Oh, okay. I know there was another serious riot over there where like 9 people were murdered or something like that at the weight.
Yeah, they had some more riots. B yard is pretty notorious yard. They have had a lot of riots over the years there. I think that's the yard that killed Yogi on, old school BGF guy. They murdered him there, Yogi Pinnell. Yeah. It was the asshole yard,
Yeah.
Which I always seem to end up on, Yeah, so I went to Tracy from there, and And now Tracy used to be called Gladiator School.
Yep.
I had some friends. Yeah, they say, when you get to R&R and Tracy, they give you a trash can lid and a sword. That was a joke, But that was serious, man. At one time, Tracy was a serious place, man. I have some friends that were there, biker type dudes, and white dudes are getting stabbed and murdered all the time by Northern prison gang. And I know some guys that organized a little thing with some baseball bats and knives, and they put an end to that.
You got that shit cut out.
Yeah. And so what happened now is they removed all the Northern prison gang guys, and it was a youngster prison. So what happened was they came in with this point system. So if you have a lot of points, you go to level 4, and if you program, your points go down. So they brought a lot of guys at Tracy from Folsom and Quentin that had been programming, just staying out of trouble. I mean, they're partying, doing whatever, but so now Tracy's predominantly guys that been to Folsom, Quentin, and they're just doing their time. They're kicking it, and dudes are starting to realize now that hey, we might not get out. So that the mentality is, we're going to make this prison our home.
Yeah.
And but they also flooded that prison with Southern Mexicans, and there were no Northerners there for a long time. And they would bring in like a couple Northerners and they'd stab them right away.
Yeah.
And then I think when you were there, that was going on.
Yeah, it was steady.
And then they would bring in like 10 or 20 of them and they'd stab them all.
Yeah.
And I heard one time they brought like 40 of them, and they ran them through orientation and put them all out on the yard at the same time, and they stabbed them up. They got rid of them,
Yeah.
And Tracy, they got the handball wall was made out of wooden slats, and people would stab dudes and then run over to the handball wall and pull a slat up, put the knife in the handball wall, and they would use the same knife to stab 10, 15 guys, It was quite a deal, But it had calmed down when I got there. It was, there was still violence, but not like back in the day, And then they started slowly bringing in Northerners, and because they opened up the prison in San Diego, and guys were, things were changing. They were building new prisons all over the state, and so Tracy had a weight pile for the blacks, the whites, the Northerners, and the Mexicans. Each race, each group of people had their own weight pile. They had a couple baseball diamonds. They would have like 25 baseball teams, and they would play a series, all throughout. And then they have playoffs, World Series, softball. Man, they were serious about it,
Serious about it.
Yeah. And they had other races playing other races. It was not a big deal. White dudes would go play softball against a black team or a Northern team or whatever.
But it ended right there. When the game was
it ended right there.
You know what I mean?
There was no, hugging up, beating with each other. And it was just, hey, we're out here to play sports.
Right.
Because in prison, man, sports, you burn energy, you have fun. When you're playing other races, you got to kind of be cool because you don't want to have nothing to jump off over. Something could start, but overall, baseball, never any problems, Yeah. And I tripped out because later on, here are these same guys that like to play sports, man. They're like, hey, no interracial sports. I'm like, what, are you scared of these dudes or what? We've been doing this for fucking 20 years. What,
Yeah, all of a sudden.
That's the new rules. Those are the new rules, So that's a new generation, that's like.
Everything changed up, my boy. You know that.
Yeah, But Tracy, man, they would have barbecues on the yard on the holidays. The coach would bring in live bands. It was great, man. I was there 5 years, It was a good pen as far as that goes. I mean, guys say, hey, that was a good pen. And if, you're out here, you say, how could prison be good? But when you're living in that world, that place was good.
Yeah.
There were jobs.
For plenty of jobs. Yeah. Well, you had to go to school. You had to pass a test first to, if you weren't working, you were going to school, one of the two.
Right.
So I worked in the mini canteen. That was the lick right there.
All right, yeah, the yard canteen.
Selling frozen waters and shit for $1. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Sodas, ice creams, all that.
Yeah, everything.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, see, well, and like back then, like I got my GED in '86, you know, but you couldn't go to a vocational program or a job to make money unless you had a GED or a certain grade level.
right, exactly.
A TABE score had to be a certain level of reading, writing, and all that stuff.
Exactly. I just bought mine for like 3 packs of Camels, I think.
Yeah. There were guys buying GEDs. I bought a few family visits there in Tracy. Yeah, you could buy family visits from the clerk. You know, you could buy chronos for AA, NA, anything you wanted. Any clerk, if you wanted a bed move, if you wanted a job, if you wanted a chrono, information piece of paper, they call them chronos, 128 information chronos, saying you went to some program and you're a great guy, they would type it up, give them a jar of coffee, you know, and you got it. You know, it's just, yeah, inmates ran everything. You know?
You didn't fuck with the lieutenant's clerk either because you felt sammed up, you know?
Yeah.
So you told him you was going to pay him, you better pay him. You know
and there were guys, they were professional clerks. That's what I call them. I mean, they worked in program offices, bed move offices, you know, they worked all over. So, yeah, it was a good place to be, you know. And I went to board and they said, hey, we want you to take this CAT-T program. Now, I had done the CAT-T program at CMC. I went there to the CAT-X, excuse me. And, you know, I ended up beating some guy down. I got a terrible report. And I went back, you know, back then you would go do your program and then go back to the prison you came from. So I went back to Tracy, you know, and they're like, why don't you go take this CAT-T program? And it's a 2-year program. I'm like, man, I'm not doing that. You know, I'm not going to CMC for nothing. Right. So we moved this program to Donovan. So I'm like, well, I'm going. I'm from San Diego, you know, and I went down to San Diego and mind you, I had 100 points still. You know, I went from 164 points. Now my points are down to 100. So, you know, I'm going without write-ups, you know.
Well, they started the point system when you were in.
Right. When I went to prison, there was no point system.
Right.
We went by your age.
Go to board to get out.
Yeah, everybody had to go to board prior to me. Right before I came in, they started SB 42. That changed that. But when I went to prison, younger guys went to Tracy or Soledad, older guys, you know, they went by your age and your crime, you know. So they started a point system. So like you were messing up, you know, you got a lot of points for your write-up. So I had a lot of points. And I remember when
you were Jack Nicholson in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest where he didn't know what was up until
yeah. I remember I went and did the CAT-X and the CAT-T in Vacaville, you know, and when I got there, I got out, released out to the mainline under the security housing decompression unit, you know, and there was this little Mexican program administrator, which they don't have anymore. Now they're all captains, you know, but he had this big cigar, little fat guy, and he goes, I'll send you back to San Quentin. And I'm thinking, well, you know, that's where I'm going back there anyways when this program's over, you know, because you got 164 points. And he's yelling at me. And I go, what the fuck are points? He goes, you got 164 points. And I go, is that good? You know, and he goes, what are you, a fucking asshole? You know, and I'm like, dude, what are points? You know, I was like 22 years old. You know, I told me, is that good? You know, I'm thinking, you know, the more points you got, the better, right? You know?
Right.
Yeah. So
where do I graduate at?
Yeah. So I get to Donovan, you know, and there was a lieutenant there I knew when he was a CO, and you know, he was a Mexican cat, and you know, he grew up in the neighborhood and all that shit. But he went to the military and then started working at Chino, and you know, now here he is. He's like, hey, what's up? You know. But he was, you know, there was a guy from South Bay who was hooked up in a prison gang, and he got out of prison and stayed out a long time. And so this guy saw him. He goes, yeah, I saw this dude, you know. He's passed away since then, this guy, but he's seen him, and he goes, I seen him come out of the chow hall, you know. And he called him by his nickname, you know, and he saw, hey, Superman. And the guy came back and he goes, you know, Lieutenant, there was a time when I used to go by that name. but now I prefer to go by, this name. He told him his, his real name. And he goes, all right. He goes, I kept my eye on the guy, and the guy's, doing it right. So he never gave him up, because by now all these dudes are in a hole.
Yeah.
So he never said anything about the guy, and he let the guy parole and all that stuff. This lieutenant was there. He was all right. But
when they came and snatched them all off the line.
Yeah, they had already been locked up. They locked all them dudes up in '86, and this is like '93 when I went to Donovan. And but I remember one night where he's out front of the program office. I seen him. I'm all, what's up, man? We're chatting. This other cop come up there, and he goes, tell this guy, Smiley, this young CO. I go, what's up? He goes, what's the problem? I said, what do you mean? He goes, what's the problem with you guys? I said, a problem is worth killing over. And the cop, he goes, I said, look, if it ain't worth killing over, it ain't a problem.
Right.
And he goes, yeah, see, and he was making a point about all them dudes now were going crying. Guys would go cry in the program office, And, hey, Lieutenant, and he goes, man, these kids, man, they're just coming over here crying about shit, and so he was kind of making a point to the CO, like, hey, but, I had a friend worked in the reception yard there in the lieutenant's office, and he was a clerk, old school guy, Frank, he'd been around, and he goes, hey, brother, these dudes, man, guys go in there, hey, Lieutenant, and they want to give him information, and the lieutenant would say, well, you can talk in front of my clerk, He would make him say it in front of Frank, And but he goes, hey, these are all tattooed veteran dudes and young guy, everybody. They don't want to go to Calipatria. They don't want to go to certain prisons, So they're in there spilling their guts, man. And he goes, and then they're out on the yard being tough guys,
Yeah.
The big homie guy, and all that shit.
Nothing's changed, bro. Nothing's changed.
Yeah, I mean, so, back in the day, like I remember this one Mexican cat went in and told this lieutenant, hey, you got to lock me up. They're going to stab me. The lieutenant told me, who's going to stab you? He goes, oh, I can't tell you, but, they're going to stab me. He goes, man, get out of my office and don't come back until, you're stabbed or you want to tell me who's going to do it,
He came back.
Yeah, he came back about a half an hour later with a hole in his neck,
Yeah.
But that lieutenant got in trouble for that, That's when things were starting to change, A lot more guys were locking up. And I was like, man, what's up,
So a lot of people don't even realize that they didn't have what they call S and Y back then. They had the PHU and they had the SHU.
Yeah.